Go to Sergio now in Whittier, California. When should I use anything? Oh, I'm sorry. Should I use anything different, or is there anything else I should use in my saltwater pool as opposed to regular chlorine pool?
Yeah, this is a question we get a lot out in the field. You know, like I have a saltwater pool. I've just converted. I just bought a house. It's a salt pool. Is it different than a chlorine pool? And what's your answer usually, Jim?
A little bit, but we are going to treat it the same way. Having a working chlorine generator or a salt pool is part of the Leslie's algae-free guarantee. If you're not using our Leslie's tabs, then have a salt pool, because that is part of our guarantee. But beyond that, we're going to treat it the same way. But what we do know about salt pools is we probably are going to be looking at a high pH rise. Typically, it produces a chlorine that has a high pH value. So please bring in your water twice a month so we can look at those pH values and your alkalinity values and adjust those when necessary. But I also know, too, that with a salt pool, we really need to take a look at phosphates. Not only are they an algae food source, but in a salt pool, Chris, phosphates can do what?
Well, actually, if you get phosphates that are present in a chlorine in a saltwater pool, the chlorine generator, the unit that actually takes salt that's dissolved in the water, and as water passes through it, it creates a certain type of a chlorine molecule. Those internal components of that machine can become plated up or scaled up with something called a calcium phosphonate scale. Now, as the title probably says, of the name of it, phosphate is one of the key components. So calcium molecules, which you're going to have in your water, you need a required amount.
Yeah, water actually does need a certain amount of calcium.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, it's thirsty for it.
And it will find it. But the calcium that's in your water and the phosphate that may or may not be in your water, as they pass through this unit, they can fuse together and create a crystal-like structure which forms a scale. The problem is it scales up the moving or the active parts inside of a chlorine generator, and it renders them useless essentially. Now there is a remedy for this where you're mechanically stripping it off with an acid solution, and that's fine, but you don't want to do that all the time. And if you simply take out the phosphates, not only will you guarantee you won't get algae in that salt pool, but you're going to guarantee that that machine, that chlorine generator, works very efficiently and effectively. And we've often seen, by incorporating a product like the Perfect Weekly, where you'll turn your generator down by half and it's actually going to produce more chlorine, because this is going to pave the way, not just by removing phosphates, but the enzymes in here, the broad spectrum enzymes, are going to take out the organic contaminants that are also burdening the chlorine. So it really does make for a saltwater pool to work at a premium level by incorporating this as well. And again, you're on the algae-free guarantee offered by Leslie. So it's a great program to be, and it'll ensure that you can enjoy that saltwater pool.
So Sergio, to answer your question again, not a whole lot different from a regular chlorine pool, in that we're going to be looking at the pH values a little bit more, certainly controlling those phosphates a little bit more, making sure your pool has enough calcium so it's not thirsty for it, but then controlling regular calcium buildup, unlike the calcium you were talking about that's linked to the phosphates. I'm talking about calcium silicate and calcium carbonate. At higher levels, those could fall out on your cell, and we'd want to control that. So we would recommend a scale inhibitor too, maybe, for a salt pool. But beyond that, sanitize, shock, and prevent.
Absolutely.
I think maybe I'm going to drop this little tip for a customer. They should probably understand what chlorine does in a pool, right?
Sure.
It has two functions in a pool. It's first and foremost, most important thing is to sanitize.
That's right.
And what I mean by sanitize is kill those microorganisms that are going to make us sick. So that's what I really want chlorine to do.
Chlorine really, or that type of sanitizer, makes pool water. Everything else is just water until you get that in it, because it's going to keep the water free from disease and bacteria, and that's the most important thing without a doubt.
Yeah. Now the second, thank you. And the second thing that chlorine wants to do is oxidize. So oxidizing is the chemical cleansing or breaking down of a contaminant, turning it back into whatever it was originally. And typically that's a water and a gas off as a carbon. Well, during that process of oxidation, that's when your chlorine goes away through consumption. And chlorine feels compelled to oxidize. So if there's leaves or contaminants or oils or suntan lotions, your chlorine is being consumed through that oxidation.
Now here's the fun tip, just so you know. Jim, how much waste does the average bather exude every 45 minutes to an hour?
I don't want to scare our customers. We want our customers in their pool, but I will tell you, if you're not in a pool that's on our program, you are probably swimming in 16 ounces
right.
of whoever else you're
That's
swimming
right.
with.
That's
That's
welcome.
what we leave in a pool is about a 16 ounce
Remember,
organic
a
load.
swimming pool, even one as clean as yours, is still a communal bath. So people get out cleaner than when they went in. So keep that in mind, and it helps you know what you're combating when you're treating your pool.
So this is why I love the enzymes. I want to keep my sanitizer, and especially for those of you that have salt pools, I want to keep that very active and just as a sanitizer. And then the enzymes help break down that organic load that my chlorine would have felt compelled to oxidize and then get used up on. So now suddenly I've got free available chlorine that's available to sanitize my pool because I got these enzyme partners in the pool all the time.
That's right.
Helping me out with that. Yep. And then that's also why we ask you to regularly shock your pool too, so that a specific oxidizer like a Fresh and Clear or our most powerful shock, Power Powder Plus, they do that job once a week, keeping your chlorine free and available. That's why we ask you to do those three things: sanitize, shock, and then use the Perfect Weekly.
That's the program.
That's going to guarantee your pool. I hope that answered your question, Sergio. Not too different.
Yeah. Thanks, Sergio.